It's another spring day in Peru, Indiana. Young people juggling their studies with juggling. Taking their bikes out for a spin. Letting the wind blow through their hair. Balancing their team sports with balancing. Playing ball, jumping, swinging, and falling back to earth. Peru, Indiana, population 11,000 plus. Small town Midwest on the outside, a real circus on the inside.
We all do some form of circus because not everybody does like high wire or flying trapeze. There are littler kids that are clowns, there are kids my size that are clowns, and there are even adults that do clowns as well.
This time of year, Cody Backover jumps right out of his cleats after track practice and slips into tight wire shoes. He's training and trying out for high wire in this year's Peru Amateur Circus. They start low and slow before hitting way high over the circus arena floor.
We're walking on a wire about that thick, about 25, 30 feet in the air. So a lot of us bases, which is like me and a few of the bigger people, we're gonna have people on our shoulders and people in pyramid bars, which is where we have a person up front, a person in back, and then a person on top of that bar. And then we're gonna have multiples of that.
The goal for Cody and many other local kids between the ages of 7 and 21 is to make the show. 10 performances, a week-long festival, and the biggest, longest-running circus parade in the country, all during the third week of July. For some, it's their first. For others, it's in the blood.
My grandpa was the first flying trapeze catcher in the Peru Circus. My mom was a performer, and my aunts and uncles. My mom went professional after high school and met my dad in a circus in California and brought him back. And my siblings and I all were in the circus. My children are the fourth generation performers in the Peru Circus.
Somehow Peru became headquarters for several large circuses. Then it all snowballed. Most major circuses traveled by train. And at the time, Peru had several active rail lines and was centrally located to major population centers.
In the 1900s, a lot of famous circuses came through here, and east of Peru, they would winter over at we call them the winter quarters, and it's now known as the International Circus Hall of Fame.
Even as winter quarters eventually moved south, circus roots had grown long and strong here. In the 1950s, a community group revived those roots. In 1960, an all-youth circus put on shows in a tent. Now it's a big thing, held every summer at a permanent arena and museum in the heart of town.
We're in the first stages of tryouts. We have 2 cuts.
Don't adjust your hips, leave them there dry.
And most kids try out for 6 or 7 acts in order to be able to make sure they stay in the show.
If you're comfortable with it, you can do it and drop down into the ball.
And then the second cut is your final cut, and that's in May.
Okay, we're gonna turn around and go the other way.
Then it's time to start training for the circus in July. Jenny and several parents and trainers here started in Peru. Many have worked professionally around the world.
It's a smaller version of our flying trapeze act. It's shorter, it's closer to the ground. We use crash mats instead of a net, and it's made for the younger kids so they learn the fundamentals of flying in the air before we send them up really high.
I said reach out there and you went like this.
KERRI also played Peru and toured the world professionally. She knows what these kids are going through.
You gotta have the patience as the trainer, and you gotta talk them through it and tell them they'll be okay, and we'll keep them safe. And they learn quickly that maybe some acts are for them and some acts are not.
I would say I'm a circus mom. This will be my first year. This is my daughter's first year in the show.
Ellie's mom has been in her shoes. Maggie also toured the world professionally after the Peru Circus. 8-year-old Ellie is trying out for several acts, including low casting, tumbling, and hand balancing.
There was pressure, yeah. I'm sure I had some pressure. High wire was a little more demanding for me than flying trapeze. I know when I was a kid, my mom couldn't even watch flying trapeze because it was just so so nerve-wracking for her. But as the one doing it, it didn't really bother me.
So juggling is an act that only practices twice a week. However, you'll never come down here and not find kids juggling. So Caden here is trying to learn how to juggle 5 clubs. That's not going to happen if he only practices 2 days a week. Justin here has been doing 5 clubs for a while. So again, you're not going to learn the really difficult tricks just by showing up to practice.
Top of the performance chain in this and most circuses, the trapeze, a well-tuned team of flyers, catchers, and people on the ground.
And it does take, like I said, the core strength that you have to have, the arm strength, and then your hands. I mean, you get blisters and they rip and tear, their hands get hot, they end up having the blisters exposed and just have to keep going and working harder. But you do have to have some aerial ability to be able to control your body in air with flipping and twisting and just having that body awareness when you're in the air. Pull those legs up to here. By the time people see the show, I hope it looks flawless to them, but they don't realize all of the times the kids have hit the net, crashed in the net, all the ripped hands, even tears when they don't get a trick or they get mad at themselves.
The girl with the blisters, back at it again. Growing up circus.
We try really hard not to cut any performer out of the show. We always encourage them to try out for tumbling. Kids don't get cut from tumbling, they may get moved to a different level. Our motto is try again next year. Our biggest priority is safety, and there are a lot of cuts that are made due to safety. If a performer is at an intermediate level and they're trying out for an advanced act, they're getting cut not so much because of their skill level, but because of the safety level.
This circus is so important to this community, and it's important to keep it alive, to keep the history going. There's so much history within this building, within this town, within families inside the building, and it would be such a shame if it ever went away. So we have to work really hard every year to really keep it going.
Peru, Indiana, with hundreds of circus performers and volunteers, it's a good bet that in one way or another, almost everyone here is growing up circus.